Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
And we begin tonight with some rather tragic news. There has been an earthquake in Japan, and we see the article, Japan earthquake, tens of thousands flee in fear after aftershocks and volcanoes. They say a total of 44,000 people have been evacuated. This is as of last night after a magnitude 6.4, I believe it's rated higher than that now, earthquake collapsed buildings and damaged other infrastructure. There are also concerns about volcanic activity after the wake of the quake. So we will bring you updates as this evolves. As of right now, they said they aren't anticipating any large tsunami fallout from this, but these stories always continue to perpetuate, so we'll let you know if anything else develops on that front. Now, something that's been long developing here in the States is the issue of what to do in the wake of Sandy Hook. Now, with this story, I'm gonna try to be as polite and professional and everything as possible because I know this affected many people personally. Also, it affected the nation as a whole, and I guess the world as a whole. And it's the issue of what we can do to combat gun violence. Now, I don't think there's anybody who debates that there is an issue with gun violence, but I also recognize there are many other types of violence, if not negligence, whether you're talking about drunk driving or, the reports talking about you're more likely to be hit by a hammer and die than be killed by a fully automatic rifle in this country. You have to take all these things into account when you look at things like this. And the article says, judge allows Sandy Hook families to sue Remington Firearms over massacre. In what is being referred to as a landmark ruling, Superior Court Judge Barbara Bellis denied a request by Remington Arms Company, Bushmaster, and others to dismiss the suit submitted by 10 Sandy Hook families. Asserting that the court has the proper jurisdiction to hear the lawsuit, Bellis said that Federal Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, that's quite the name, which ordinarily shields firearm companies from legal liability, does not meet legal sufficiency to nullify the claims made by the families. Now, as I was saying earlier, when you talk about anything, whether it's a car accident, a shooting, anything else, I don't think it's right to blame the manufacturer of a product that was working properly in its function. And let me elaborate on that. If a car is defective, if the tires blow out, if the power steering goes out, or any number of other things that could go wrong to make the car crash, yes, that is the manufacturer's fault, but somebody using a firearm in its unintended use and its illegal use to kill several children, that I don't think is grounds to sue the manufacturer of the firearm. It's a very tricky thing. If somebody drives drunk on the side of the road, like just happened here in Austin, I believe it was South by Southwest 2 years ago. A guy got drunk, drove on the sidewalk and hit a bunch of people. Let's say if he was driving a Chevy car. I don't think Chevy should be held responsible for that tragedy. You take issue with the person who did the atrocity therein. Same thing with what happened in Sandy Hook. I don't think it's Bushmaster or Remington or anybody else's fault that somebody decided to use a firearm in a school that day. That just makes absolutely no sense to me. I understand the families are seeking closure, but I don't think this is the proper way to go about it. Suing a company for making firearms is not really the right way to go about it, in my personal opinion. There are many people, many people who disagree with me, but they're welcome to their points of view and all. Like I said, I try to be very respectful to the families, but suing the company is not going to do anything. As we've always documented, long before people had firearms, they were killing each other with sticks and stones and arrows and hammers, and the reports about how you can fall off a ladder and crack your head open. And there's many other ways to die that don't remedy the situation by simply suing the person who made the instrument therein. I'll move on to another topic now. And let's talk about some foreign hostilities. Recently, we had some Russian planes that were flying over U.S. Navy ships. And this is at a time, we've seen the situation going on with Syria and Russia saying, hey, if you guys continue your presence here or continue to try to do things, talking to the United States, we're going to have to get involved, said Russia. And now we see that Kerry is saying that the U.S. Navy destroyer could have shot down the Russian warplanes. And this was Secretary of State John Kerry. He said Thursday, the U.S. Navy ship that was buzzed by 2 Russian warplanes in the Baltic Sea this week could have opened fire under U.S. military rules of engagement. And this is the USS Donald Cook. it was conducting flight operations with a Polish helicopter Monday when two Russian Su-24 attack aircraft came within 1,000 yards of the destroyer, flying just 100 feet off the ground. The following day, a Russian jet came within 30 feet of the destroyer, but the article does point out that the planes did appear to be unarmed. And why Russia would do this in the first place is beyond my comprehension. They know how high the tensions are, so why they would fly a plane within 30 feet, the reports say, of the destroyer itself is just silly. Had they shot down the planes, I really wouldn't have blamed them at all, to be quite honest with you. Luckily, nothing more serious came out of the situation, but hopefully people will act more responsibly as things go on. Not to say that everything happens responsibly on our side, but better ways can be found to do whatever the Russian planes were doing instead of just buzzing the aircraft. And that's just one thing. We also are having tensions with North Korea, and South Korea is reporting that North Korea had a very unsuccessful launch, is pretty accurate to what that picture is, shooting their firecracker ICBM, I believe that's the correct acronyms. They say, if the report is true, this is the words of a CNN correspondent, and the mobile missile launch attempt did fail, it would be a major disappointment for the North Korean regime because it happened on the most significant holiday of the year, and this is the Day of the Sun, as they call it, the birthday of Kim Il-sung, the founder of North Korea. A U.S. defense official said a North Korean missile launch had failed at 4:33 p.m. Eastern Thursday after the U.S. Strategic Command Systems detected and tracked the attempt. At this time, there is no evidence the missile reached flight, a U.S. official told CNN. So try again. They have been trying for quite some time to get a intercontinental missile to go out there over the waters, but that just is not working for them. I'm not sure what exactly they're trying to do. I know they're trying to, I guess, boost up their street cred, for lack of a better term, in the international community. Going about it this way is not the way to do it at all. And now a lot of people are saying that the young man that's being held hostage, or I guess prisoner more accurately, in North Korea, the American man, is just basically a political pawn. If you guys don't know, we did a report a few weeks ago about a young college student who went over to North Korea and tried to steal a poster from, I believe it was a hotel. He tried to steal some propaganda poster, and they gave him 15 years hard labor. And it reminds me of that movie just came out with, was it Tom Hanks, the Bridge of Spies, where they had the Russian spy or whoever he was in holding in case they needed to trade him for a political favor later. And I think that's a similar thing that North Korea is doing. They're using the young man as some type of political football, advertising the fact that he is doing hard labor. So if they do need to strike some deal with the U.S., whatever, they have it there. But other than that, North Korea is just up to the most silly of shenanigans. It's also, I think it was last week, or maybe it's 2 weeks ago, North Korea was saying that its citizens basically needed to eat grass. They said dig up plant roots and eat those because we're running out of food. Meanwhile, Kim doesn't look like he's missed a meal in quite some time. And these are just the silly things that go on if you have a communist, socialist regime. So all you guys out there who think socialism is the greatest thing since sliced bread, do you really want to live in a country where you have to eat grass? They jail college students for stealing posters, and they're going to watch you starve to death while your supreme leader is, eating fat at the trough. That's what some people want.
Get Brain Force at 25% off for a limited time at InfowarsLife.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've been on this the last few months. You probably noticed I've been more crazed, more focused, less brain fog, more energy, more special reports, and it's because of Brain Force.
One of the worst things with most energy products is it's not sustainable, right? You're gonna crash afterwards. And the cool thing about this is it's not just a bunch of energy compounds that are gonna fire your brain up to a higher RPM or whatever, which it does do. This is sustainable. This isn't going to spike and you're gonna collapse and you're gonna feel really bad afterwards. This has a bunch of different antioxidants and compounds and polyphenols.
Everybody's on these drugs to knock their brain out because the brain's so fried.
We're looking at the television screen for research purposes or whatever we're even doing, trying to learn something, or staring at the computer all day, working, doing good. You're still damaging your brain.
You will find Brain Force and other game-changing products at InfowarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.
Get Brain Force at 25% off for a limited time at InfowarsLife.com. And we thank you for your support.